Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, concerns over the possibility of thousands of migrants and asylum seekers hitting the streets of Arizona's southern border cities. Also tonight, a new report outlines the state of groundwater protection in the valley and how best to protect older adults against falls, which are a major factor in hospitalizations among the elderly. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
This hour of local news is made possible by contributions from the Friends of PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
I did my holiday shopping online in seconds. Then I get this weird text from the shipping company with a link asking me to confirm my payment info.
Recognize fraud so your money lives longer.
That has to be a package scam.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. A Maricopa County judge today dismissed yet another lawsuit challenging the results of the 2022 election. This one filed by former Attorney General candidate and current congressional candidate Abe Hamadeh, who challenged the results of the 2022 election by challenging how Maricopa County processed mail-in ballots. The judge consolidated that lawsuit with another suit filed by two other Republicans who also wanted either a recount of the 2022 vote or another election. The judge ruled that Hamadeh lost on the same exact issue in a previous suit and that this lawsuit was, quote, groundless and not brought in good faith. The judge will allow Attorney General Chris Mays and Secretary of State Adrian Fontes to seek sanctions against Hamadeh, and Maricopa County can do the same against the others who filed suit. One more note, AT&T says it's investigating how information from 73 million customers got onto the dark web. That breach was announced over the weekend. AT&T says it's now notifying those affected. The breach appears to involve data from 2019 or earlier. If you think you've been hacked, experts say to reset your password, ask a credit reporting agency to put a fraud alert on your account, and consider a credit freeze to block someone from opening a credit card in your name. There's concern over the possibility that thousands of migrants and asylum seekers who have been processed at the U.S.-Mexico border will be released in Arizona border cities. This as federal funding to help the situation has been under threat. To learn more, we welcome Rafael Carranza, immigration issues reporter for the Arizona Republic and azcentral.com. Rafael, always a pleasure. Good to have you here. We'll start by saying this could have been a very big deal today because there was a deadline today, either yesterday or today. Talk to us about the deadline and what's going on here.
Yeah, so essentially Pima County, which plays a very central role in processing or helping a lot of migrants that are released in southern Arizona, they were expected to run out of funding on March 31st, and this is federal funding that helps pay for a lot of the expenses, whether it's housing, transportation, meals for migrants that Border Patrol and Customs and Border Protection releases in southern Arizona. Now, since the Congress allocated additional funding for these efforts, we know that there's going to be more money incoming. So I think that kind of softens that deadline. But there's still a lot of questions over how much Arizona will get in this latest round.
I'm seeing $650 million regarding to FEMA shelter and service program. What exactly do these FEMA programs cover?
Yeah, so initially, back in 2019, when there were larger numbers of migrants being released, and at that point, it was a new thing, so there wasn't any place for them to go in a lot of cities like Yuma, which doesn't have a shelter or reliable transportation infrastructure. So essentially, nonprofits stepped in and they started essentially setting up sites where Border Patrol could drop them off, and then they would provide them transportation to Tucson or Phoenix, which do have a lot of these services. And so since then, they developed this network, but essentially the federal government is responsible for reimbursing nonprofits and local governments that have been helping with this. And so that has been a very key part of the program that FEMA has been responsible for.
So the process is, again, on a more basic level here, take us through. Migrant appears, asylum seeker appears at the border. What is the process as it stands, and has it changed at all now that a little bit of this funding has returned?
Yeah, so essentially since the COVID pandemic, we've had a larger number of migrants reaching the U.S.-Mexico border. They've reached historic numbers over the past few years. And because the U.S. government has very little, or at least less detention capacity, about 30,000 beds or so at the moment, you just can't hold everybody. And so essentially, as you're processing people who are claiming asylum, or even if they're going to be, they don't qualify but will be removed, you can't all hold them in detention. So the administration has been using a program called Humanitarian humanitarian parole. Essentially, once the migrant is processed at the border, then either Border Patrol or customs officers determine whether to allow that person into the country and release them. And once they do that, they have been legally processed and cleared, to be in the country, so then they can then travel, usually to reunite with families or sponsors elsewhere in the country. So the majority don't stay here in Arizona or the border states. They will continue on to other parts of the country, but they're responsible for paying for, that flight. It's not something that the U.S. government pays for. It's not something that, state, local, or nonprofits pay for.
I saw that, without this funding, again, if that funding deadline had hit and nothing had happened, the cities I saw potential for chaos, potential for added costs. That'd have been a real mess.
It would have been. I mean, if you think about it, there's a city like Douglas. It has 16,000 people, but there would have been the risk of releasing up to 150 people each day there. And they don't have a shelter. They don't have a reliable transportation network there. Same thing with Nogales, 20,000 people, but they could have released 400 people there a day, sometimes even more if there were, like for the summertime, when you have a higher number of people crossing. And so that could have been a very big mess if there would not have been additional federal funding, because the local governments say that they will not use their local funds to pay for something that is a federal issue.
What medical screenings, meals, clothes, bed space, these sorts of things? Who's paying for this kind of stuff, and how much availability is there?
Yeah, so all of these are generally provided in a lot of the designated sites that you'll have. For example, in Yuma, there's a regional center that kind of took that on. And in Tucson, you have Casalitas. Here in Phoenix, you have the International Rescue Center, who has a welcome center there. And so they will provide, medical screenings for migrants and asylum seekers, COVID shots. If they don't have a place to stay, at least if they can't get a ticket to fly out that same day, they could spend the night there until they are able to finalize their travel arrangements. And so all of this is, paid for by these nonprofits and local governments. But again, the federal government is responsible for reimbursing that, and that's through this FEMA program.
You mentioned nonprofits. How big a role are they playing?
I think they play essentially the biggest role. I think it all started with the nonprofits. The local governments kind of joined the efforts later on, but it was a lot of the nonprofits, especially religious nonprofits like Casalitas, which is part of the Catholic Community Services, who have done that. They've really played a big role. A lot of the churches here in Phoenix have also opened up a lot of their spaces to house migrants if they're unable to, set up travel for that same day. And so they've played a huge role in kind of creating the system that has been, relatively successful in Arizona, in the sense that it tends to be out of sight and out of mind, for the rest of, people here in Arizona. That's not the case in Texas, where we see migrants, stranded, and for example, in downtown El Paso, or, camped out along the fences in the Rio Grande, down in South Texas, or California even, where you've had migrants dropped off at bus stations. The system here in Arizona, because it's been, developed over 5 years, has had the success of kind of keeping that confined to the designated drop-off sites, rather than impacting a lot of the transportation, sites or bus stations where the public at large could, potentially see that.
Well, and with all this, which again, it's not like it is in Texas and California, but it still is an issue and it still is a concern. With all of that said, what about the smuggling situation? Has that eased because things have been streamlined, or is that still a big problem?
It'd always be a big problem, and because getting to the United States is still a very daunting task. You still have a lot of obstacles along the way. So getting to the U.S. is only part of, the last part of the whole puzzle. But increasingly, Mexico has played a very outsized role in immigration enforcement, under pressure from the U.S. government, if I might add. And so because Mexico has done more to try to stem the flow of migrants reaching the U.S.-Mexico border, it also has made it more lucrative for smugglers as they try to evade a lot of the routes through Mexico, or find new routes to try to evade a lot of the Mexican immigration officials.
Last question, Rafael. What do we look for here? What should we keep an eye out for?
Well, next up, we're going to find out how much Arizona is gonna get in that federal funding, the $650 million that you mentioned earlier. In the last round of funding, the majority of that money went to cities and states in the interior, like Illinois, like New York, Colorado, Denver. They've had a lot of issues with that, and as a result, a lot of the border states received less funding. So there's been a lot of pressure, especially from the congressional delegation here in Arizona, to allocate a lot of that funding to the border states because they are on the front lines of the issue. Good
information. Rafael Carranza, Arizona Republic, azcentral.com. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Ready? I am, but I'm not sure you are.
Things are starting to look up.
This could be huge. I'm trying to seek redemption. Let's do it with our heads held high.
What was that?
Could be nothing. Could be everything.
Things are definitely starting to look up.
Arizona PBS wants to wish a very happy birthday to our Arizona PBS Kids Club members that are having a birthday. Thanks so much for being a part of the Arizona PBS Kids Club. And if you'd like to see your name here during your birthday month, get a grown-up's help to visit azpbs.org/family to learn about our Arizona PBS family membership. So happy birthday from all of us at Arizona PBS.
The Kyle Center for Water Policy at ASU's Morrison Institute is out with a report on the state of groundwater protection in the Phoenix area, which follows a state report last year that concluded that the valley has, quote, reached the anticipated limits of growth on groundwater supplies. Joining us now is Sarah Porter, Director of the Kyle Center for Water Policy. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
This new report, Groundwater Protection in the Valley, what did you look at? What did you find?
Well, we looked at how the valley has been growing, particularly parts of the valley that have grown on groundwater, and what the consequences are. Many of the bigger, older cities in the valley treat groundwater as the deep, long-term savings, the water that we would turn to in case there was a shortage of a surface water supply. But we have programs that allow for use of groundwater for growth. That groundwater has to be replenished. But one concern is that where the water is being replenished is not the place where it's being taken out. This can lead to the depletion of local aquifers and a condition called subsidence, where the aquifer no longer can store water. And it's really, in the big picture, our report is about having policies that incentivize communities to make substantial investments in renewable water supplies so that we're not putting off for another day the investments that we need to make to be water resilient.
And yet when I looked at the report, I found disincentives for long-term water resilience. That doesn't sound like a good thing.
In the long run, one of the things we say in the report is that the 100-year assured water supply requirement and the Groundwater Management Act are really the Phoenix area's brand. They're the reason why Phoenix has been such a place for investment, to buy a home or start a business. To maintain that brand, that shiny brand of doing water in the smartest way, we need to look at the required infrastructure investments that would be needed to make sure we stay water secure.
Give me an example.
More than half of the Colorado River water that's delivered to cities in the Phoenix area is used for replenishment rather than being sent to a surface water treatment plant and delivered to people's taps. Because we have programs that allow water providers to serve groundwater and then commit to replenishing sometime in the future.
And yet when I see recharging and replenishment is too far from actual groundwater decline, again, that doesn't sound like a good thing.
It's a concern that we raise in the report because when water is withdrawn, groundwater is withdrawn, essentially it's never replenished unless we have programs that require the water to be replenished. And that's because we just don't get a lot of precipitation. It takes a long time for the aquifers around here to fill.
And we're talking fossil groundwater for the most part, are we not?
Yeah, we're talking groundwater that took thousands and thousands of years to fill the aquifers. I read a report recently that proposed that most of the water in the aquifers got here below Phoenix, got here during the last mini glaciation period.
Holy smokes.
So this is water that took a long time to get there. It got there a long time ago. And we have technology that enables us to pump it up much faster than it is replenished by nature.
You mentioned the Colorado River. We're planning on, we're waiting for, bracing for cuts in any way, shape, or form. How does that play into this?
The biggest way the potential Colorado River cuts play into this is the Colorado River is a huge supply for replenishment for this program that different water providers are using, where they deliver groundwater and replenish with Colorado River water. Also, cities that are even delivering Colorado River water are using Colorado River supplies to replenish aquifers as a kind of long-term savings. So cuts in Colorado River water will mean less of that storage happening, that replenishment happening, while cities at the same time turn to groundwater as a backup supply.
I also saw in the report that recharging, that a lot of this stuff is too far away from the actual decline. So what does that mean? Like you're recharging over here, but you really need it there?
Right. We're talking about, we're withdrawing in place A.
Yes.
That's where we're depleting the aquifer. We're replenishing in place B. And at some point, the aquifer, the groundwater table is down low enough that it won't be feasible to continue to pump from that place. And in the meantime, the water provider hasn't been required to make investments that are needed in infrastructure to be able to deliver supplies where they're needed. The replenishment that's going on at point B is good, but it isn't a long-term solution for the depletion in point A.
And the report suggests that significant investments were made in the past. We could figure this out in the past. The report says, time to do it again?
That's exactly right. And we propose some different measures for incentivizing those investments. These typically, the investments that we need to make to maintain our shiny brand and keep delivering renewable supplies are pretty costly compared with the investments that are made simply to deliver local groundwater and replenish. But in the end, they're worth it because it means that when we buy a home or start a business in the Phoenix area, we can be sure of long-term supplies without a disruption.
So bottom line, Sarah, groundwater supply in the valley, is it on the decline?
Yes, essentially we are in a path and on a course to deplete the aquifers slowly. We have measures in place that slow the rate of depletion, but we are not going to reach safe yield. And where we are now, the projections are for continued depletion of the aquifers without additional actions being taken. And
then the AWDR projecting that we've already reached anticipated limits of growth. You agree with that?
The department's models that there is no more groundwater physically available, which is a little bit technical, for additional use of groundwater by new subdivisions. That's a hydrologic model. I leave hydrology to the hydrologists.
What about?
But I do think that model's important because even if this year isn't the year that we see this, maybe we have 5 years. It still signals it's time to make investments in alternative supplies. It's time to start doing things in a different way.
Sarah Porter-Kyle, Center for Water Policy at ASU's Morrison Institute. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Tonight, as part of our monthly AARP-sponsored segment that highlights issues important to older adults in Arizona, we look at trips and falls among seniors, which, according to the CDC, are happening at an alarming rate and are a leading cause of hospitalization among older adults. Thurman Lockhart from ASU's School of Biological and Health Systems Engineering has researched movement disorders associated with aging, and he joins us now. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you.
How big, I mean, this sounds like, we all know, fractured hips, these kinds of things, you hear about it all the time. Are we hearing about it more?
Yes. I think currently we are about 44,000 deaths per year. Motor vehicle accident is about 45,000 per year. So we're pretty much, enclosing upon the motor vehicle accident, but it's going to actually surpass that in another couple of years. So,
basic question.
Yes.
Why do older folks fall?
Well, older adults, as we age, there's sensory degradation, vision, vestibular, proprioceptive system, all degrade with aging. And then there's also musculoskeletal loss as well. And combination of all of these factors influence our balance and instability. And as a result of that, given a perturbation Before you could, kind of react and not fall.
Yeah.
But now, because of the weakness of the muscles, you're not able to handle that, and then you fall.
Changes in gait, changes in posture?
Yes, gait and gait stability is very, very important, as well as posture stability. All of those are factors that we need to measure to assess fall risk.
And you have done a lot of measurement. I know that you had the Lockhart monitor. It's
Right.
your monitor that tries to figure out something's happening over here. We need to do something.
Exactly.
First
right.
of all, how's the Lockhart monitor doing, and what's next in line as far as your research and what can be done?
Yeah, so Lockhart monitor has been acquisition by a bigger musculoskeletal, conglomerate who's helping this, in that healthcare areas.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so the bottom line of fall risk assessment, the problem is currently the fall risk assessment is done by very, very much of like qualitative manner. So you got a sheet, and you're asking, how old are you? You have urinary incontinence. Did you fall before? And these kind of things, and then you rate it. And then if your score is greater than 10, you're fallers. Score is not greater than 10, you're not fallers. So just by looking at that fall risk assessment scoring is not appropriate, and this is the reason why we developed the Lockhart monitor to measure that in quantitative way.
Well, and when you measure things in quantitative ways, you can also load them into AI and start to get all sorts of results, and I would imagine that's a factor here?
Yes, yeah. We have recently created a machine learning model that can actually predict fallers before they fall. And so the machine learning model that we're using right now is a physics-informed machine learning model. And then there's also data-driven machine learning models. And two of these models are basically a general field of AI. It is a very important component of AI to predict and assess. And so we have utilized this machine learning to actually come up to about 90% accuracy in terms of predicting fallers before they fall.
When you predict a faller before they fall,
yes,
what do you do?
Well, there's a variety of intervention tools are available, like strengthening, balance exercises. There's a variety of gait therapies that we could do. So prevention part we know how to do, but assessing what is wrong with them, what is the risk factor is the key. Finding that out.
Yeah,
then intervening.
And so I would imagine there are so many biomedical principles at play here, and AI helps. But even AI, I guess you'd have to factor in, it's a bit of a moving target, is it not? Because 79-year-olds become 80-year-olds, and then they become 81-year-olds, and they change.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so there is a variability, and when there is this kind of variability, it's really hard to kind of hone in on who is falling, who is not falling. But in general, we could look at their gait and posture, posture stability, and then tell that what kind of issues that this person has in terms of fall proneness. And as a result of that, what kind of intervention can we actually bring towards to help this individual walk better, balance better, so that.
How far along is this AI research going?
This AI research is, so we have finished one part. Now we are actually increasing the accuracy by adding additional parameters or features, as we call it.
And the Lockhart monitor, is that going to play into this as well, to monitor what's happening? I mean, I would imagine that's great information.
Yes, yes. We will use the Lockhart monitor as well as use the Lockhart monitor at home so we could actually assess the activities, what was happening at home. So as to get a universal type of information, not just, the fall risk, the rating scale,
right,
for example.
Right. And as far as prevention is concerned, as you mentioned, there are all sorts of balancing exercises and things you can do. There's also knowledge and to know. You might not be able to do this as quickly or as absent-mindedly as you used to do. Time to focus, time to pay. I would imagine just paying more attention would make a difference, would it?
Yes, paying focused attention is very, very important. And also looking down is also important as well. We tend to, as we walk, with our viewpoint at about this angle. but we don't usually look down.
Interesting.
And there lies the problem.
Interesting.
But you know, in terms of environment, you know, that's one issue. But also, it is also an issue with ourselves.
Yeah.
But there are intervention tools that are available that could strengthen ourselves and make ourselves stable, such that we don't have to fall.
Thurman Lockhart, great work. Thanks for joining us and sharing your information. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And that's it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
Arizona Theater Company at Tempe Center for the Arts presents Masterclass. This Tony Award-winning play carves a window into the soul of the uncompromising opera diva Maria Callas, starring Hollywood